But we'll get into the Oregon spring game, man. I think this is big, man. I think this is a big year for Oregon. Everybody talked about Ohio State spending all this money on a roster and pay for play. Oregon was right there with them, man. And I think they come into the Big Ten with a real chance to win it. I think the spring game is going to be super interesting. I think everybody's going to be obviously watching the quarterbacks. I think that's going to be the biggest thing to see. To me, arguably the best or second best roster coming into the Big Ten this year. I mean, what do you think about Oregon?
Oregon? They're loaded like Ron Jeremy before he's ready to go on camera, man. Locked and loaded, ready to go. I mean, this team, they got everything they needed out of the portal. They got Gabriel at quarterback, had all the experience in the world, been at multiple teams. Dante Moore, he's the future. And they got 4 of their 5 best pass catchers back returning to the team. My favorite, Tez Johnson, man. He is electric. They even went to their rival and stole Jabbar Muhammad out of Washington, man. The dude was a lockdown corner and basically the only defender they had on the team. They got him. I mean, he's at the Ducks now. Just going like right across to the rivals. No big deal.
Seems to be pretty common these days, man. But yeah, Oregon for a long time they didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver since 2018 till last year. And then they had 2 of them, and then one of them obviously moved on. But then they go out and they get in the portal. They get Evan Stewart, the 5-star prospect out of Texas A&M. So they're reloading their wide receiver. Everybody, I'm telling you, all eyes is going to be on this passing game. They had some holes in the secondary, and what does Dan Lanning do? He goes out and gets every available cornerback he can get out of the portal. He is not playing any games. I think Oregon has struggled at times to kind of live up to the hype that they bring, and he's mentioned that this spring. He talked about like they got to stop beating themselves, and I think that is a key component to Dan Lanning is kind of growing past some of those decisions that he's made and then putting his team in bad situations. So it's good for me to hear him say like, hey, man, like we got to stop beating ourselves. And he's talking about some of the things that he's done. He sounds like he's ready for business, man. He's got the tread on the track and ready to go. He's ready to roll, man. Oregon's absolutely loaded, Sydney. Absolutely loaded, man. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they came in.
Jamari Coldwin, they brought him in as a defensive tackle. I mean, they brought in some defensive players too. Man, they brought in people from all over the place that are going to be studs. They got
and they kept Dan Lanning.
They kept Jeffrey Bossa. He's a linebacker that's going to be showing out, man. They lost some good talent off that defense, but Noah Sewell, he gone. He's in the NFL. Well, I don't know if he's been drafted yet, but he's going to be in the NFL. And then Jordan Birch, the defensive end. Just studs everywhere. So
Troy says that's another reason I hate Chip. He didn't utilize more to his full potential, but was helpful to help him transfer. That's just true. I think that transfer is kind of interesting because he was committed to Oregon originally, transferred to or changed his mind, went to UCLA, and I think the words that Dan Lanning hit him hard when it came to they hit the transfer portal. Like I should have listened to him in the first place.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a starter.
Yeah, but I needed some time to grow.
Not even at UCLA.
Yeah, we're right there with you, Sydney. We think they could go all the way. I think they're thirsty, man. They're thirsty out in Eugene. You can see how much money they're putting into the program, how much money they're putting into keeping their coach. I think Oregon had an issue with keeping coaches now. Like they forked out the money to keep Dan Lanning. He's a hot ticket right now for any coaching position that comes open. And Oregon said, no, man, this is our guy. We're gonna pay the cash. They gave him all the money they could NIL wise to get players out of the portal. Like Oregon's not playing any games, man. They're coming to the Big Ten and they're armed and ready. And I think it's going to be an interesting season for them next year.
Who will start, Moore or Taylor? You're talking about Oregon. We got Dillion Gabriel. He's starting.
Yeah, Dillion Gabriel is absolutely starting. I think unless Moore just somehow really lights it up in the fall. I think it's Gabriel's team this year,
and we'll see a little bit of that tomorrow.